welcome to another Bard's Tale. This week will be the usual 3 tales, but they are short and simple compared to the others before. However, each carries with it a potent message that might stay with you a lot longer than the tales themselves. The fox is a cunning creature. Once upon a time, the fox came upon a raven who sat high in a tree with a delicious piece of meat in its beak. The fox sat at the roots of the tree and began to cry out praise for the raven. "Your color is pure black," he began. "This proves to me that you possess all the wisdom of Lao Tse, who knows how to shroud his learning in darkness. The manner in which you manage to feed your mother shows that your filial affection equals that which the master Tsiong had for his parents. Your voice is rough and strong. It proves that you have the courage with which King Hiang once drove his foes to flight by the mere sound of his voice. In truth, you are the king of birds." The raven was so filled with joy and pride at hearing this that he opened his beak to say thank you, but as he did, the meat dropped from his open mouth, and the fox caught the meat far below. The fox devoured it and began to laugh. "Make note of this, my dear sir. If someone praises you without occasion, he is sure to have a reason for doing so." Long ago in the ancient fields were 10 farmers who crossed the lands together. They walked in peace till a heavy thunderstorm came upon them. The farmers ran quickly to a half-ruined temple for shelter as the storm continued to worsen. The storm was so great that the very air seemed to tremble, and the lightning crackled around the temple. The terrified farmers came to believe that this was a sort of divine punishment. There must be a sinner amongst them who the sky sought to smite. They looked at each other, unsure who the sinner might be, and eventually decided to hang up their hats by the door, and he whose hat is blown away by the tumultuous winds would walk outside and let fate claim him. No sooner were the hats hung when one was immediately blown out into the storm-ravaged fields. In an instant, the owner of the hat was thrust outside by the other farmers, and he stood amid the storm. But instead of being struck by a wrathful bolt of thunder, he was shocked to see the lightning recede, and a single powerful bolt struck the temple, shattering it into flaming splinters. The one remaining farmer stood awestruck. He had been the only righteous among them, and the other 9 had paid for their sin with their lives. In the distant past, a man dug in his field. Digging and digging, he only stopped when he hit an earthenware cask. He dug it out and carried it back to his home and told his wife to clean it out. But when his wife set about cleaning the thing, she became most alarmed when, while cleaning the inside of the cask with a brush, several exact copies of the brush appeared inside it. It created copy after copy till the cask was full of brushes. No matter how many were removed, the cask always remained full of brushes. And so the man sold brushes, earning his family a comfortable living. One day the family accidentally dropped a coin into the cask, and at once all the brushes disappeared, only to fill itself once again to the brim, only with coins instead. In an instant the family became rich, for they could take as much money as they ever wanted from the magical cask. But the old grandfather of the family took issue with this. He was weak and shaky, but this did not stop his son from commanding him to shovel money from the cask. If the old grandfather ever faltered in his shoveling because he was tired or weary, his son would fly into a rage, shouting and screaming at him. The work and the abuse took its toll, so that one day the old grandfather's heart stopped, and he fell into the cask, dead. The cask began its magic. The coins within all vanished, and copy after copy of the dead old grandfather filled the barrel. The son found the bodies filling the cask, and went about the grim task of removing them fast as he could in the hopes that they didn't replicate any more. He pulled out each of the bodies and buried each with a funeral. Each funeral took more and more of his coin, till he was left with as much wealth as he had before he found the magical cask. When all the bodies were buried, the cask broke, and the man was poor as before, or maybe even more so.